Okay, fam, please ignore the laundry in the background and the sound of my washing machine. It is the new moon in Libra portal, and I literally just had the craziest insight about Libra energy that I had to share with you. I don't consider myself a people pleaser. I never really had that perception of myself, but today I had the epiphany that my actions were more in alignment with prioritizing other people's internal well-being and harmony than my own dreams and desires. And that is a version of people pleasing. So let's backtrack a little bit. Yesterday, for the first time in a very long time, I met Sean, my ex of 8 years, for the first time in a year. It was a checkpoint that we had set for us to come together and basically check in with each other. And I've always been a little bit confused about the dynamic of our relationship. Like, he loves me so much, I love him so much. Why couldn't we make it work? And then I noticed that when I am in his proximity, when I am in relationship with him, I immediately kind of like humble myself. I silence my voice. I start to take away all my preferences and desires. And I notice myself just listening, like kind of putting him and his thoughts and his feelings on a pedestal and kind of taking his word as law. Now, let me be clear. He does not ask that of me. He's also perpetuating the dynamic in his own way, but he's not deliberately creating it. I'm kind of used to falling into this cycle with him. And I always wondered, why do I feel so disempowered when I'm in a relationship with him? Why do I feel like I don't want to do anything? And then when I shared about this dynamic with my sister, she said, these are the classic signs of enmeshment. And if you look at the root of what enmeshment is, it is when two people lose their identities and become merged into one. And there's usually one person that is giving up more of themselves in order to mold themselves to the other. In this case, I was the enmeshee. I was the one kind of like giving up my preferences, my thoughts, my feelings, and kind of just losing myself in the relationship. So I didn't realize that I was doing that until yesterday when I met him and I had this renewed understanding of what was happening. Now here is where this gets really interesting, and it ties into Libra energy because we are in the portal for the new moon in Libra. The new moon in Libra is a time where, to me at least, the sky is dark. You know, we are in that kind of like womb-like portal before the moon becomes new again, before a new cycle starts. And this is usually where the shadows are at their darkest, right? Literally darkest before dawn. So we are in that dark cocoon space right now. And that's why I'm noticing a lot of these shadow aspects of Libra energy come up. So when you think of Libra, one of the traits that comes to mind is people pleaser, indecisive, right? They tend to give off the energy of like, I don't really know what I want. But the truth is, we do know what we want. We're afraid to own it. Now, why are we afraid to own it? So after meeting Sean, the grief has just been coming in waves. I have been completely emotionally devastated. I'm literally just sitting at home doing laundry, hermiting from the world. And yet, I notice these impulses come up that speak to the shadow of Libra. So for example, my mom wanted to meet for lunch today because she wanted the tea of what unfolded with Sean. I'm not ready to talk about this with her yet because I know what her emotional capacity is like. But instead of owning that desire and being very clear and say, I need this time for myself, right? Can I meet you another day, right? I instead internalize her desire and feel guilt at the conflict it's creating with my own desire. So I'm like, oh man, you know, I feel really bad that I didn't say anything to my mom about this. You know, does she still love me? Does she think I don't love her? Will she think that, you know, I don't prioritize our relationship? Am I abandoning her? Will she abandon me? So it starts to become almost like this spiral. And I catch myself realizing this and I'm like, wait, why am I prioritizing her emotional needs above my own? That's people pleasing, right? The act I had gone through it meeting her for lunch today, that would have been people pleasing. So I am past that stage, but I'm still reckoning with reconciling different emotional, or I guess in general, different needs that are different than my own. Another example is, again, I'm in grieving. I actually hurt my foot, a while back. So I'm not in a space to be able to do dance practice tonight. So when I told my troop leader, hey, I'm not able to come in today, I felt so bad. I literally felt it in my body, this like churning in the pit of my gut. And I was like, wait, but I'm literally injured, both like emotionally and physically. Why do I feel bad about missing out on practice? So it really, like, I noticed this come up a lot more. And I'm realizing perhaps the reason we choose not to prioritize our own emotional needs or our desires, or, our goals in general, Aries, and instead feel comfortable in the shadow of Libra, is because it is so much easier to build our lives around other people who have very clear desires and goals. The leader, right, Aries, it's easier to follow someone else's needs and paths and dreams, but as a result, lose sight of our own. Because if you never own your desire, you never have to go through the cycle of rejection and failure. You don't need to put yourself out there. Our desires can be a very tender part of us. It's very private. For me to tell my mom, hey mom, I need this space for myself, is vulnerable, right? Because it challenges the relationship. It puts it at risk to some extent. But ironically, that is the relational work that Libra is very good at and very equipped to do. But it starts first with knowing what we do and don't want. So let me know if this is resonating with you as a woman, as a creative, as someone who is trying to build a life that you are proud of, as I am as well. I feel like this is probably the most important skill that we need to learn. Okay, thank you very much. I'm Gwen, the Asian astrologer, and I would love to see your thoughts in the comments below.